Good afternoon. Thank you for participating in this organized session. I am Mayen Villanueva, a former Assistant Professor 1 and lecturer at the College of Human Ecology, University of the Philippines. I taught community organizing to social technology major students pursuing bachelor's degree in human ecology. Prior to my teaching job, I have volunteered in a number of community-based NGOs and POs in the Philippines for about 20 years to include few years of organizing experience in academic union in the university. I am proud to be a new member of the Society for Human Ecology USA since July 17, 2017. I am deeply honored to be invited to share my insights on community organizing at the Society for Human Ecology 22nd conference in one of the organized sessions. To the participants of this session, I would like to thank you for your time and interest. I hope this will be a start of our future conversations. Our topic for the organized session is community organizing as a tool in creating sustainable human ecological community, the Philippine context. Our objective is to analyze how CO be effectively used as one of the tools in envisioning a sustainable human and ecological community based on Philippine context and experience. The overall conceptual framework of my discussion paper is illustrated in figure number 1. We will be using the same framework later in our discussion. We cannot proceed with community organizing without analyzing first the existing prevailing in our environment and study further the need for a deeper analysis of the global and ecological social crisis and also its underlying consequences. The ecological crisis and roots. Below is an excerpt about the extent of the ecological crisis. To reiterate, it is a glaring reality that there is a global ecological social crisis and Anthropocene crisis due to the acceleration of human impacts on the environment, giving rise to climate change and other risks to the environment. In the Philippines, the global crisis is clearly manifested through decades of continuous environmental degradation due to deteriorating ecosystems, our forests, agricultural, urban, marine and freshwater coastal ecosystems. To cite some of the key environmental issues, we have pollution, decline in air and water quality in Manila and other key urban centers, decline of coastal and marine resources due to overfishing, destructive fishing method, changes in land use due to conversion, urbanization, and industrialization, decreasing soil fertility, aggressive use of chemical inputs, inappropriate land use and agricultural practices in upland areas. This situation is further aggravated by lack of government political will to truly implement environment laws that benefit the majority of the people. Since 1994, there is an increased intensity and unpredictability of calamities and disasters worldwide. Let us do a quick review of our current socio-economic national situation. Government statistics state that our people live in a state of poverty amidst our rich natural resources. Based on Poverty Incidence 2015 report, the three sectors that belong to the poorest of the poor are the farmers, fisher folks, and children. Among the top 20 provinces, 11 are in Mindanao region, are poor, 6 in the Visayas, and 3 in Luzon. Reports on the family income and Expenditure Survey revealed that families in the National Capital Region, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon had high family income and expenditure compared to the other poor provinces, mostly from southern Philippines. There is a big income gap between the rich and the poor, as reported by the Philippine Statistics Authority 2015. The top 20 richest Filipinos with a total worth of $67 billion is equivalent to the combined income of $76 million by the poorest. This inequitable distribution of our country's wealth has been aggravated by government program and policies which prioritize the rich over the poor or which prioritize profits over services to the people. The Philippines is a rich country. It has rich natural resources, but the people are poor. Studies have shown that some of the reasons why majority of the Filipino people are poor include monopoly of capital, backward economy without strong manufacturing base, export of raw materials, our people are the major source of foreign currency, and the lack of affordable social services such as housing, education, including mass transport. And there's also prevalence of armed conflict and militarization in the countryside, resulting to economic displacements of indigenous peoples' communities. The overseas Filipino workers' remittances contribute largely to our country's gross national product, so-called the new heroes because they are forced to sacrifice and leave their homes and families to serve as contract workers in neighboring Southeast Asian countries, in North America, and in Middle East. In their workplace, they suffer physical and sexual abuse, exploitation by employers, cultural alienation, discrimination, and other poor working conditions. Organizing overseas Filipinos by Migrante International is mainly through advocacy of migrant issues and linking their situation to our country's situation so that they become part of the movement against globalization and neoliberal policies. The recent ASEAN summit hosted by the Philippines on November 14 to 17, 2017, held in Manila, promises only the following: forging new agreements to push for further liberal trade, for wider opening of domestic markets, expansion of public-private partnership, and a creation of more export processing zones in the country. The ASEAN Leaders Agreement served to reinforce the power of capital over service to the people. In conjunction with the ASEAN meetings of heads of states, the People's Movement in Southeast Asia held a parallel civil society forum to present the situation on the ground and exchange studies and demands or alternatives on urgent issues faced with the peoples of Southeast Asia. Called the ASEAN Civil Society Conference, or the ASEAN People's Forum PH 2017, is a solidarity gathering of diverse civil society organizations in Southeast Asia. There are some sectors in the middle class, such as the church and other professionals and advocates, who have been in solidarity with the poor communities or the working class, who have been experiencing less humane situations, the farmers and peasants in the countryside. The struggle for genuine agrarian reform is a continuing vision to gain control and access of community resources such as land, capital, and other support services. The role of the middle sectors in solidarity with the poor is viewed from the perspective of horizontal relations and mutual respect, as opposed to charity, which is a vertical relation and oftentimes develop dependency relations. In our quest for more humane world, where people comes first and service comes first over profits, we are faced with problems of environmental degradation, natural and man-made disaster, and dominance of materialism and consumerism, among others. There, here are some of the organizing strategies for change. In the process of solving this complex problem, Philippine communities have initiated and tested various organizing strategies along the areas of capability building, socio-economic work, and participatory self-governance. Let's take a look at each of them and study some details. First, on capability building strategy. It includes both environmental education and leadership training, mobilization and negotiation, alliance building and networking, local and international, gender and development and environmental conservation, and consumer education. Another strategy is through socio-economic work, which can be done through village-level food and community production, access and control and management of community resources, such as labor, land, capital, machinery, technology, and support services, organizing socio-economic cooperatives, management skills developments along the areas of finance, accounting, and marketing, and support services. The third major strategy for organizing work is through participatory governance. It means participation and representation in policy-making bodies, conflict resolution and peace and order, public safety and security, and disaster preparedness and management, social services, and organizing think tank or pool of experts on various lines of work. Through the years, peoples-based NGOs and people's organizations have become the main expression of our fight for social and ecological change. I support their common vision for organizing, that is, 1. The attainment of ecological sustainability, 2. Social justice and equity, 3. Economic self-reliance, and 4. Community empowerment. Let us try to understand each vision. First, ecological sustainability. This means resources meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Another aspect is that community-based resource management, such as coastal, forest, and land resource management. And also it means the capacity of the biosphere to meet the needs of the existing community and present generation without hindering future generations from being able to meet their needs. It means using our natural resources wisely in the short term so that resources are available in the long term. The second vision is for social justice and equity. This is manifested through fair access to community services based on one's capability and needs, and there should be participation in evolving, improved, or alternative health education system, and there is respect and preservation of indigenous culture, and there's the presence of collective responsibility of society to ensure that civil and human rights are preserved and protected for each individual, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, nation of origin, sexual orientation, class, physical and mental ability, and age. The third vision is economic self-reliance. This refers to being able to supply own basic needs without external assistance through one's own effort and abilities. And the fourth vision is community empowerment. It is the process of enabling communities to increase control over the lives represent representing their interests in a responsible and self-determined way and acting on their own authority. There is a need to explore new approaches in organizing to attract more sectors, groups, especially the youth and today's generation we call the millennials, and the new generation of environment activists, advocates, trade unionists, youth students, professionals, intellectuals to join the broad movement for social ecological change based in campuses, universities, fields, factories, and businesses. There are some religious schools and colleges with strong mandate of their faith expressed as in solidarity with the poor have started to integrate their educational curriculum a practicum in their community development laboratories based in both rural and urban communities in partnership with local government unit and local PO and NGO. Community immersion takes a minimum of 6 months and students are trained by seasoned community organizers. We can also cite the supervised field experience program for graduating bachelor's human ecology students as a good opportunity for students to be trained and experience hands-on CO practice. Likewise, in partnership with local government units, NGOs or people's organizations, and social development foundations, where students are provided a learning environment to be able to practice the art and science of community organizing and human ecology in the real world. In some rural villages in Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon, some peasant organizations have initiated building small-scale village-level socio-economic work such as food production systems, which are managed by the cooperative. Best practices are those crafted by the people themselves and are shared in convergence with neighboring villages. Economic activities are interwoven into socio-ecological activities of the community, such as health system, educational system, and respect for indigenous culture and food production system. The goal is to empower the community to create alternative system. They say to reorder the economic, political, and cultural system to meet their comprehensive human needs. They follow some simple guide in sustained organizing efforts, and these are the 5 basic elements of CO, which are as follows: social investigation, education, mobilization, organizational structure and consolidation, and animate or pagpupukaw, or some religious groups call it conscientization. To effect a genuine change and attain our social ecological goals that we envision, will require the majority of the population to actively participate in the process of change to work toward transforming into a new society in a coordinated and organized approach. It is our urgent task to seek comprehensive solution to the crisis, which consider the interactions within the natural systems themselves and with social systems, and the strategies for a solution demand an integrated approach to combat poverty and protecting nature. Indeed, we need to understand the depth of the ecological crisis, its systems, nature, and the magnitude of the change, as well as the impact of human activities. Then we shall aim to envision a sustainable ecological human community under Philippine context. Is this possible? We have shared some stories and narratives that this project is viable and attainable by starting from small-scale village level to broader scope. The great majority of people will decide if they want to make change happen. Community organizing strategies as social tool and technique have been effectively used by sectoral and multi-sectoral and community-based social groups in different community settings in the Philippines in addressing their basic needs for adequate human living conditions. On a global scale, community organizing is considered as an integral part of the whole struggle of mass popular movements to seek comprehensive solutions to the social ecological problems. I would like to share the optimistic views of Magdoff and Williams, two known environmental activists and scientists who argued it is not too late to address the ecological problems facing us. They present a forward-looking perspective which derives from three qualities that characterize their analysis. First, the unification of all the major social ecological problems so as to transcend the contradiction of the usual reductionist ways of seeing. Second, a pedagogical approach in which the goal is to map out the social and ecological terrain of struggle for mass popular movements. And third, the ability to project concrete, meaningful, and practical solutions to problems that are insoluble within the confines of the present system, but only if we are willing to be revolutionary enough to break with the present. Recently, I found an excellent resource in Pope Francis' encyclical letter Laudato Si on care of our common home, authored by Robin van Tiene. He analyzed and concluded that the Pope argued and insisted that it is essential to seek comprehensive solutions which considers the interactions between natural systems themselves and with social systems. We are faced not with two separate crises, one environmental and the other social, but rather with one complex crisis which is both social and environmental. Strategies for a solution demand an integrated approach to combating poverty, restoring dignity to the excluded, and at the same time protecting nature. In conclusion, I am inspired by the teachings of Pope Francis' message and challenge to all of us. There is a need for an integrated approach to the environmental problem. Second, an awareness of our common origins and sustainable future. And for the contemporary environmental education to include critique of the myths of modernity grounded in the utilitarian mindset. Example, individualism, unlimited progress, competition, consumerism, the unregulated market. And for all religions to dialogue among themselves, defending the poor and build networks of respect and fraternity. Before we wrap up this session, I would like to congratulate the organizers of the Society for Human Ecology 22 conference for this great initiative. An international conference like this is a good opportunity for human ecologists, environmental activists, ecologists, environment advocates, consumer movement, policymakers, and people's organizations and non-government organizations to share their knowledge and best practices and technology, and to forge a comprehensive solution to the problem toward creating a sustainable, human, ecological community we have long envisioned. Thank you very much.